You know what's exhausting? Pretending you're fine when you're completely overwhelmed. You get up, put on your smile, show up for work, answer the texts, nod at the noise, and all the while you're holding your breath, just trying to keep it together. It's like juggling glass balls with one hand tied behind your back and telling yourself, it's fine, I got this, when deep down you're one thought away from crumbling. Let's get real. Overwhelm is not weakness. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's your body's natural response to too much, too fast, all at once. It's the alarm system going off saying, you can't keep doing everything like this. But the world doesn't slow down, life doesn't wait, and you keep pushing, because slowing down feels like quitting. And that lie right there is what's stealing your peace. The first step in overcoming overwhelm is simple but uncomfortable. Call it what it is. Say it out loud. I'm overwhelmed. You've got to name it to tame it. And once you do, something amazing happens. You stop fighting yourself. You stop layering guilt on top of fatigue. You stop pretending that more effort is the solution when what you really need is clarity. The moment you say it, you start taking your power back. When your mind is racing, when everything feels like too much, here's the truth: you're living in your head, not your life. You're caught in loops, what ifs, should haves, could be's, and none of them are happening in this moment. The way out, come back to now. Touch your feet to the floor, feel your breath in your chest, look around and find 5 things you can see, hear, or feel. Ground yourself in the moment, because peace lives here, not in the past you can't change or the future you can't predict. You don't need to solve everything today. You just need to do the next right thing, not all the things, just the next one. Fold the laundry, answer that email, take a walk, breathe. When you try to tackle everything all at once, you shut down. But when you shrink the problem to the size of the present, it becomes doable. That tiny shift, that's momentum. And momentum beats motivation every single time. Small wins build confidence, and confidence creates calm. Now let's talk boundaries, because if you're feeling overwhelmed, chances are your calendar is full of things that are not yours to carry. You said yes when you meant maybe. You gave when you were empty. You apologized when you weren't wrong. You taught people to expect from you what you hate giving away: your time, your peace, your presence. Listen, peace isn't something you find on a beach in Bali. It's what you protect when you say, no, not right now. That doesn't work for me. Boundaries are not about keeping others out, they're about keeping yourself in. But here's the part nobody teaches you: peace is not just the absence of chaos, it's the presence of stillness. And stillness isn't silence, it's presence. It's choosing for even 1 minute a day to stop chasing, stop fixing, stop scrolling, and just be. Close your eyes, breathe deep, drop your shoulders, let the noise fade. And in that tiny moment, remember this: the world will keep spinning whether you're racing or resting. Your worth doesn't decrease because you took a break, and your peace isn't found out there. It's already in you. You just forgot how to hear it. So no, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. You just need to pause, breathe, and take one step forward. Because even in the middle of chaos, you can choose peace. We need to stop pretending that overwhelm is something we can just power through. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling when your to-do list keeps growing, but your energy is shrinking, when your phone buzzes one more time and your entire body tightens. When even taking a deep breath feels like too much, that is overwhelm, and you can't conquer what you won't confront. Most of us are taught to ignore it, to push it aside, slap a smile on our face, and keep it moving. We've normalized burnout, we've glamorized the hustle, we've convinced ourselves that if we're not doing everything, we're doing nothing. And that is the root of the problem, because ignoring overwhelm doesn't make it disappear, it just buries it deeper. And what you bury grows pressure. Pressure turns into frustration. Frustration becomes anger or shame, and soon you're snapping at people you love, zoning out from the life you built, wondering why nothing feels right. So here's the hard truth. You've got to stop lying to yourself. Saying, I'm fine, when you're not. Saying, I've got it under control, when you're barely holding on. That is not strength. That's survival, and you were not born to survive your life, you were born to live it. So when you feel overwhelmed, don't push through. Pause, check in, acknowledge it. Say it out loud if you have to. I'm overwhelmed, because there's nothing weak about being honest. In fact, it's one of the most courageous things you can do. See, the fact is, the moment you name it, you stop being at war with yourself. You stop trying to outrun a feeling that was never the enemy. Overwhelm isn't something to be ashamed of. It's information. It's your mind and body saying, hey, we're at capacity. It's like a traffic light turning red, not because you did something wrong, but because you need to stop. And ignoring that signal doesn't make you powerful. It makes you blind to your limits. And I get it. Slowing down feels risky. Admitting you're overwhelmed feels like failure. But let me tell you something, naming your overwhelm is the first step to reclaiming your power. Because you cannot heal what you won't feel. You can't shift what you won't even look at. And when you call it out, you can start asking better questions. What's triggering this? Where am I overloaded? What can I let go of? Suddenly, you're not drowning, you're navigating. You're not avoiding, you're taking action. This is about self-awareness, not self-pity. It's about being in the driver's seat of your own mental space. When you finally acknowledge that you're overwhelmed, you give yourself permission to do something about it. Maybe that means canceling a commitment. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's doing absolutely nothing for 5 minutes just to breathe and reset. And that isn't quitting. That's leadership over your own life. You are not a machine. You are a human being with needs, limits, and emotions. And the faster you recognize that, the faster you'll find your strength again. Strength isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about standing in the truth, even when it's messy, even when it's inconvenient. And saying, this is where I'm at, and I'm going to take care of myself through it. Overwhelm is not the end. It's a checkpoint, a moment asking you to reevaluate what's working and what's not. So stop ignoring it, start acknowledging it, because that's where your clarity begins. Let me tell you something that most people won't admit. Your obsession with control is making your life harder, not easier. When you're overwhelmed, the instinct is to grip tighter, to try and manage every moving part, every outcome, every person. You believe that if you can just stay on top of everything, you'll feel better. You think that the moment you lose control, everything will fall apart. But what if I told you it's actually the control itself that's suffocating you? The truth is, control is a lie we tell ourselves when we're scared. It gives us the illusion of safety, of certainty. But life doesn't operate in straight lines. It's messy, it's unpredictable. And trying to control everything isn't resilience, it's resistance. And what you resist doesn't go away, it fights back. So now, not only are you exhausted from managing 100 things, but you're also drained from the emotional weight of constantly bracing for impact. You don't need more control, you need more clarity. Clarity is what sets you free. When you shift your focus from controlling the chaos to understanding what actually matters, everything changes. Suddenly you're not reacting, you're responding. You're not micromanaging, you're making decisions that align with what's real, not what's feared. Control asks, how do I fix everything? Clarity asks, what truly needs my energy right now? There's a massive difference between those two questions. One keeps you stuck in a cycle of doing more with less impact. The other pulls you into presence, into power. That's the shift. So how do you get there? You start by stepping back. Take a breath. Ask yourself what's actually in your control. Not hypothetically, not emotionally, literally. What can you influence in this moment? Your mindset, your next step, your attitude. That's it. That's your domain. Everything else, how people respond, how the future unfolds, what happens 5 weeks from now, that's noise. Let it go. Clarity doesn't mean you'll have all the answers. It means you'll stop wasting your time on questions that don't serve you. It means you start making decisions based on truth, not fear. And yes, that means saying no to things. That means drawing boundaries. That means disappointing people who expected you to show up for everything, because now you're finally showing up for yourself. When you're operating from control, you're trying to force outcomes. When you operate from clarity, you're moving with intention. That's when momentum starts to build. That's when you feel aligned instead of anxious. That's when you stop feeling like life is something you have to survive and start experiencing it as something you get to shape. Let go of the need to control everything, because control doesn't create peace. Clarity does. And clarity comes when you give yourself permission to be still long enough to hear what your inner voice is actually trying to say. That voice is not screaming, it's calm, it's grounded, and it knows what matters most. But you'll never hear it if you're too busy trying to fix, manage, correct, and please. So ask yourself, what's the truth here? What's essential? What can I release? This shift, this quiet pivot from control to clarity, it's subtle, but it's everything. Because once you see clearly, you move differently. You lead differently. You live differently. And that's when peace starts to rise, not from the world around you, but from within. Guilt is one of those emotions that sneaks in quietly, but carries the weight of 1,000 bricks. It whispers in your ear that you're not doing enough, that you're letting people down. That taking care of yourself means you're being selfish. And when you're already overwhelmed, guilt doesn't just sit beside you. It climbs on your back, slows you down, and makes everything feel heavier than it needs to be. And here's the hardest part. Most of us don't even question it. We just accept guilt as part of our emotional landscape. It shows up when we say no. It lingers when we cancel plans. It rises when we choose rest instead of hustle or peace instead of performance. But let me say this clearly. Guilt is not always a signal that you've done something wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that you're finally doing something right for yourself. You see, we were raised in a world that romanticizes self-sacrifice, that praises you for being endlessly available, endlessly giving, endlessly performing. And somewhere along the way, we internalize this lie that our worth is tied to how much we do for others, even when it costs us ourselves. But that's not strength. That's martyrdom. And that's not sustainable. Letting go of guilt means rewriting that story. It means recognizing that your needs are not burdens. They are valid. Your time, your peace, your energy, they are sacred. And when you protect them, you're not being selfish. You're being wise. You're being responsible. You're being whole. I want you to think about how many times you've overcommitted just to avoid feeling guilty. How often you've said yes when your whole body was screaming no. How many nights you've laid awake questioning a decision, not because it was wrong, but because it upset someone else. And I want you to ask yourself, where is that guilt really coming from? Because more often than not, guilt isn't about what you've done. It's about the expectations you're carrying, expectations to be perfect, to be available, to be agreeable, to be everything to everyone all the time. But you're not here to live by other people's scripts. You're here to write your own. And that begins when you give yourself permission to feel the guilt, but not obey it, to notice it, but not be controlled by it, to recognize it as a byproduct of growth. Because when you start making decisions that are aligned with your truth, guilt is going to rise. Not because you're doing the wrong thing, but because you're stepping out of patterns that kept you small and depleted. This is the work. To pause in those moments and remind yourself, I am not responsible for managing everyone else's feelings. I am responsible for protecting my peace. I am allowed to choose myself. You don't have to justify your boundaries. You don't owe an explanation for prioritizing your well-being. You are allowed to be both compassionate and clear, kind and firm, loving and unavailable. That's what wholeness looks like. Letting go of guilt is not an overnight shift. It's a practice, a muscle you build. Every time you hold a boundary without apologizing, you're strengthening that muscle. Every time you say no and don't explain why, you're reinforcing your worth. Every time you choose rest over approval, you're declaring, my peace matters. And once you start to release that guilt, something incredible happens. You begin to breathe deeper, you make decisions faster, you show up more fully, because you're no longer walking around with emotional weight you were never meant to carry. So if you've been overwhelmed lately, ask yourself, is it the task or is it the guilt? Because the truth is, it's often not the size of what you're doing. It's the emotional load of feeling like you're wrong for doing it your way. And when you let that go, you stop shrinking your life to fit other people's comfort zones. You didn't come this far to stay burdened. You came to rise. Let guilt be the signal, not the sentence. You feel it, you learn from it, but you don't live in it. You release it, you move forward, and you give yourself permission to choose peace unapologetically. When you feel overwhelmed, like everything is spinning, the most important thing you can do is reclaim a sense of control. And you do that through micro decisions, not by trying to fix your entire life in one afternoon, not by creating some massive transformation plan that stresses you out even more. You take back your power in moments, one small choice at a time. Overwhelm thrives in chaos. It feeds off uncertainty, perfectionism, and the lie that everything has to be fixed right now. But the truth is, when you're overwhelmed, the only way out is through presence. You anchor yourself in the now. You stop worrying about next week. You stop obsessing over everything you didn't do yesterday, and you ask yourself one powerful question: what's the next right move? That's it. Not what's the perfect move. Not what's the final move, just the next small step. That's how you reclaim control when your mind is spinning and your body is tense. Because here's the secret. Momentum doesn't come from motivation, it comes from action. Even the tiniest action breaks the paralysis of overwhelm. When you make that one micro decision, getting up from bed, taking a deep breath, making a list, Drinking a glass of water, you're telling your nervous system, hey, we're not stuck. We're still in charge here. That's how you flip the script. You remind yourself that you are not helpless, you are not behind, and you are not broken. You are simply at a moment where your energy is low, your clarity is foggy, and your brain is trying to protect you by shutting things down, but you are the one in the driver's seat. You can steer this thing again, one tiny turn at a time. You don't need to fix your whole morning. Just brush your teeth. You don't need to write the whole report. Just open the document. You don't need to clean the whole house. Just clear the table. You don't need to call 10 people. Just send one message. Micro decisions are not small, they're life-changing, because every time you take one, you're signaling to yourself that you're not out of control. You're building trust with your future self. And the best part, micro decisions build momentum. One leads to another, and suddenly your energy shifts. Your brain stops spiraling. Your body relaxes. The weight you were carrying starts to feel lighter, not because the situation has changed, but because your relationship to it has. You're no longer frozen in fear. You're moving with purpose, even if it's slow, even if it's messy. Now, let's talk about what blocks most people from using this tool. Perfectionism. The lie that says, if I can't do it all, I won't do anything. That voice will rob you of peace every time. It will keep you waiting until everything feels ideal. But life doesn't wait for perfect conditions. You have to start before you're ready. You have to move before you feel motivated. You don't need a 10-step plan. You just need one step. You reclaim control by shrinking your focus, not your goals, your focus. The problem isn't that you're dreaming too big. It's that you're trying to do it all at once. And your brain, your beautiful protective brain, is shutting down in defense. So instead of fighting it, work with it. Feed it manageable, doable steps. Give it one task at a time. When your brain knows there's a finish line within reach, it helps you cross it. That's neurobiology working in your favor. So when you feel like everything's falling apart, remember this, you don't need to conquer the chaos. You just need to move through it one micro decision at a time. And the moment you do, even if it's something as small as standing up straight or taking deep breaths, you're shifting your entire state. You're proving to yourself, I can do this. I've still got me. Don't wait for the overwhelm to magically disappear. Break it with action, with grace, with the power of now. Because in the middle of your storm, there is a calm center, and you get there through one choice, one breath, one step at a time. When life feels chaotic, noisy, unpredictable, and you're stretched thin trying to be everything to everyone, peace can start to feel like some far-off fantasy, something you only get to feel when you go on vacation, or when the kids grow up, or when your to-do list is finally done, except it never is it? But here's the truth, most people miss peace isn't something you find. Peace is something you create, and you create it through ritual, not routine, not schedule, ritual. A ritual isn't just what you do, it's how you do it, it's intentional, it's sacred. It's something that anchors you no matter how loud the world gets. When you build rituals of peace into your day, you're reminding yourself that no matter what happens around you, you still have the power to create calm within you. You don't need a fancy meditation space or a silent retreat to start. You need 5 minutes. You need a breath. You need a moment where you turn off the noise, reconnect with yourself, then get grounded in what actually matters. That might mean waking up 10 minutes earlier to sit with your coffee in silence. No phone. No notifications. Just presence. It might mean lighting a candle before you start work and setting an intention for how you want to show up. It might mean taking a walk outside without earbuds and listening to your footsteps. These small, deliberate pauses, they don't seem like much, but they're everything. Because what these rituals do is recalibrate your nervous system. They shift you out of survival mode and into a space where you can think clearly, breathe deeper, and act with purpose. In a world constantly pulling at your attention, rituals are your way of taking it back. You get to decide what energy you carry into your day. You get to decide what thoughts you feed. You get to choose where you start, chaos or calm. Some people think peace will come when they're finally free of stress, but that's not real life. Life will always have stress. You're not failing because you feel pressure. You're human. The difference is whether you let stress own you or whether you create buffers of peace that allow you to meet the stress with grace. Rituals are those buffers. They're your boundaries. They're the pause between stimulus and response. They're what keep you rooted when everything else is shaking. And the beautiful part is your rituals are yours. They don't have to look like anyone else's. Maybe it's journaling 3 sentences before bed. Maybe it's praying in your car before work. Maybe it's putting your phone in another room while you eat. Maybe it's standing barefoot in your backyard every morning, even for 60 seconds. These are not meaningless habits. They are anchors. Every time you do them, you're whispering to yourself, I matter, my peace matters. And when you start prioritizing peace, your energy changes. Your decisions change. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop pouring from an empty cup and start filling your life with intention. You begin to realize that inner peace isn't something reserved for the enlightened. It's a skill. It's a choice. It's a practice. And every day you do it, it becomes easier. So if your life feels overwhelming, start small, start personal. Ask yourself, what's one moment in my day I can claim as mine? One ritual